After how frustrated I was with Resistance Fall of Man, I almost didn't play the sequel. However, curiosity ended up getting the best of me. I wanted to know if Resistance 2 was more up my alley, as I do have a vague memory of playing it way back when it released and actually enjoying it. And let me tell you, I do not regret it one bit, so let's talk about it. Just in case you don't know, Resistance 2 is a first-person shooter about humanity's struggles against a bug-like race, the Chimera, that are trying to wipe them all out. It was developed by Insomniac Games and released in the far-off ancient times of 2008 for the PlayStation 3. Once again, you control Nathan Hale, who, at the end of Fall of Man, gets brought back to his home country of America, which is being invaded by the Chimera. Here, we find that Nathan is now part of the Sentinels, a group of soldiers that, like him, are infected with the Chimera virus but did not turn, needing inhibitors to keep the virus from taking over their minds. Once again, despite him being stronger and faster than a normal human, you can't really tell much in gameplay. But whatever, I guess that's already to be expected. We also get introduced to Daedalus, a genius Chimera leader that was kind of accidentally man-made. Just know he used to be like Nathan, a sentinel, and now is a flying monster that is essentially our main villain of the game. I will go into a bit more detail on the plot later, so let's move on for now. There was a lot of changes to this game, to the point where it feels night and day with the original. You can really tell the modern warfare influence, for better and for worse. I completely understand why fans of the original might have gotten some whiplash when trying Resistance 2 for the first time. I do admit that a bit of the uniqueness of the original got stripped away in favor of what was trendy at the time, but damn, this game just feels so much better to play. Let's start with the fact that you can actually sprint this time. This made the game feel so different, and even if there was plenty of times where running wasn't the best option, it was still my decision to make. That alone broke some of the monotony of Fall of Man. That game just made you go at a flat speed all the time, and it really did drag it out. The game has more varied and interesting locations and set pieces. I can actually remember a few standout points, such as the Kraken, or even the creature that attacks you while you raid a house, or the giant Chimera that attacks you too in the middle of a city. It just all makes for a more interesting game with better excuses to go to different locales, but also just better areas in general to go to with different designs and vibes. The world also just feels more alive and fleshed out. You really do feel this evolution in things. There is way more enemy variety. The Chimera have evolved to not need the facilities to turn humans, which also reflects on the look of some levels with urban areas completely overrun with cocoons and stuff that really give personality and life to the areas. You hear radio broadcasts with war messages to survivors.
Radio USA, Philadelphia. Today, the country trembles, torn by war with an enemy the likes of which we have never seen.
It's all much better realized. Of course, it definitely helps that the visuals had a significant bump in quality, plus the game actually has some color this time around. Not being set in England probably helped with that. Even the sound design was improved quite a bit. Gone are the awkward silences of Resistance 1. Now the music is used so much better, and even though there are still quiet moments, they feel a lot more purposeful and less like they just had nothing to add there, if that makes sense. Now I actually buy the world immersion aspect of the quieter parts, which is something Fall of Man failed at completely. The weapon models also look great, with some cool animations to them, which really helped sell the alien tech vibe. We unfortunately did lose the weapon wheel, so only 2 weapons at a time now. Kind of a bummer, but it did force me to trade weapons way more often, so I had a better grasp of the game's arsenal. The gameplay feels a lot smoother and more responsive, which made the weapons feel much funner to use, even if I still don't think they're particularly interesting. Shooting and moving around doesn't feel as stiff or awkward, being way more in line with how modern shooters play. We did end up losing some of the weapons from the previous game, but all the staples came back, such as the bullseye or the auger. We do, however, have a few new weapons, one of my favorites being the revolver. It can one-shot normal enemies and its bullets explode with a secondary shot. My affinity for it screwed me over a few times, as it doesn't carry a lot of ammo and the game at times really does throw crazy swarms of enemies at you, leaving me with very little ammo to spare. But hey, you gotta make sacrifices sacrifices to play however you want, even if it's not the optimal way. The shotgun is no longer trash and it actually feels powerful to use, being able to consistently one-shot normal enemies which before felt more of a dice roll to achieve. The aim down sights were greatly improved, making them a viable gameplay option, and we went fully regenerative health. Whether you're into that or not, it definitely made the game feel faster paced. Your companions were also surprisingly competent, actually being able to kill enemies, which I was honestly shocked to see. You still need to play the game obviously, but they actually do a decent job at helping you out. All of this doesn't really mean the game got easier. While Fall of Man was unfair at times and its clunkiness did add extra challenge to it, Resistance 2 is considerably more difficult, both with some bullshit one-tap enemies like the invisible dudes, but also just in general. Even ammo is scarcer, or at least it can be as I mentioned before, so things can get real bad real fast if you're not careful. Some parts fed me my vegetables hardcore. It's not like this is crushingly difficult, just annoying at worst. The checkpoints are very forgiving, so for the most part it feels okay to die. Well, that probably sounds wrong out of context, huh? Another big difference with Resistance 2 is the plot, being a much bigger emphasis than previously. It follows a more cliché villain formula, meaning there's an actual main guy to fight and chase after. There are also no more half measures with Hale. He speaks all the time now and interacts with way more characters than before. And again, there are more characters this time around either way. Not that they were particularly fleshed out, but still way more than previously at least. Overall, it just feels more focused, and unlike Fall of Man, I knew I was near the end when I actually got there, both because the stakes were higher, but also because we were going to the MacGuffin's lair to fight him, and the story felt like it was reaching its natural conclusion. So this is what happens in a general sense. Most of your homies die, and Hale is very close to succumbing to the Chimera virus, as he has been too long without the inhibitors. As a last-ditch effort to stop Daedalus, you know, the big bad guy guiding the Chimeran army to attack and corner the survivors, Hale and a handful of soldiers take a nuclear warhead to where the Chimeran forces are gathering for an unknown reason, in hopes to strike a devastating blow to their ranks and stop Daedalus once and for all. With hours left until Hale loses his mind to the virus, he finds and confronts Daedalus in what I can describe as a boss fight. Not what I would say is the greatest one, but still a strong improvement over whatever Fall of Man had. In the first part, you're basically just surviving as Daedalus blocks your path and swings its tentacles at you in the most pathetic attack he could possibly muster. On the second part, you shoot the orbs that are electrified, which start hurting it while running in a circular room. Again, not great, but at least it felt like a final encounter, even if it wasn't very interesting. As Hale kills Daedalus, he accidentally absorbs his psychokinetic abilities, and as the warhead is counting down to explode, you take control one last time. This time, with force push powers to exit the base. It's a cool ending, but not my favorite thing to play through. I don't really feel like they made Hale powerful enough, especially considering this is the last set piece before the game ends. I somehow ended up dying a few times here. Whether this was because of my stupidity or improper game direction, I'll let you decide. The powers didn't really work fast or strong enough at times, but whatever, it was still an interesting departure from the rest of the game. I am curious to see if this is something that carries over to the sequel. It could be an interesting addition to spice up the gameplay. I guess soon enough I'll find out. Anyways, the base blows up and Hale escapes with the one member of his initial squad that survived, but the plane they were in crashes and the dude comes out and sees some funky stuff going on and Hale is completely turned. Having no choice, he kills Hale and the credits roll.
Forgive me, sir. It was an honor.
That was honestly a really bold ending that I wasn't expecting at all. I know it was building up to it, but I always thought they would save Hale in the end. They left an almost clean slate to work with that gives me hope for Insomniac to have went crazy with Resistance 3, and it really did left me wanting more immediately. The complete opposite of Fall of Man that left me with an I think I'm done here mentality. Honestly, the only reason I didn't jump right into Resistance 3 was that I wanted to put my ideas down first for this one, as you know, to not interfere with my simple mind, and so I wouldn't get out of track once again, I guess. If you want to dig deep into the lore and plot, the intel returns as collectibles, this time around way more interesting than before, but to be fair, the story this time around being way better told, and the world feeling better realized definitely helped. None of it is mandatory to understand the plot, but it gives you more insight and flavor text to the entire journey. The game also doesn't stop every time you pick one up, so it's way less invasive, which I appreciate as someone who still couldn't be bothered to read all of it. After beating the game, you unlock special options such as depth of field and motion blur. Pretty lame if you ask me. This is all stuff that you should have from the start, but whatever. Different times, I guess. This is also how you get concept art now, which is still great. I will always advocate for some sort of concept art viewer, as it's always so nice to see some behind the scenes of a game you just enjoyed. Even if you don't care, someone will, and it's just so easy to add that for extra fluff. I don't really see why you wouldn't. Some of these features are locked behind unlocking trophies or harder playthroughs. Unfortunately, they remove the ability to co-op the story, but they did give you a separate co-op mode which I mildly tested and you can solo, but I don't see a reason to do that. It just seems like a basic objective-based mission structure, which maybe with other people could be fun, but alone seems pretty boring. I sure as hell don't have the patience to go far at it alone to see if it gets better, so yeah, let's just say it exists. Just like Fall of Man, Resistance 2 multiplayer has long since been shut down, so I can't comment on it at all, but from what I heard, people had fun with it at the time, and it seems to have been another aspect that was heavily inspired by Call of Duty. There are groups trying to make the multiplayer available again, but as of making this video, that still has no updates on when it would be playable, just something to keep in mind for the future. One last note, this game has a few bugs, mostly inconsequential ones, but I did have to restart a checkpoint at least once, and it just plainly killed me another time.
Our men will be picked out before they step outside.
We're on it, Lieutenant. Now get that gun online before the fleet breaches our only safe zone.
It did feel less stable than Fall of Man, but it also felt more alive, so I guess that balances it out. And with that, that's all I wanted to say about it. Resistance 2 was a clear improvement over Fall of Man. It played better, it looked better, it had a clearer direction on where it wanted to go, and it simply was more fun to play. I'm very glad I gave it a chance after Fall of Man disappointed me, and I think you should too, as Resistance 2 is definitely a PS3 game still worth playing. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and let me know what you think of Resistance 2 in the comments. I read and appreciate every comment, so go at it if you feel so inclined. Anyway, like, subscribe, all of that, and hopefully I'll see you next time.